how's it going? Welcome to New York. Is that where you are right now?
I am. I'm in the LES, Lower East Side. Yes.
Oh, okay. One of
In my
my
little hotel room. Yes.
nice. That's what I'm a New Yorker also. I'm coming at you from Queens. It's one of my favorite areas of the city.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really enjoyed Marama. Am I pronouncing that right?
I think you can, the line above the first A, all that means is extend a vowel. So, like the little girl, like when I think there's a moment when Marama says to her,
Mm.
Ko taku no Māori, ko Marama. My Maori name is Marama. And the
Marama.
girl says,
Okay.
Marama. So you can just extend the first A. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Marama.
Marama. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. I dug it, and it made me realize we sort of have seen a few, but not enough films about atrocities committed against the Maori and colonization, but we've never really seen one from like a Gothic genre. It's almost like you're turning the Europeans' own subgenre against them to make this movie, and that was just fascinating to me. I'm just kind of curious. You've made shorts, but this is your feature debut, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So can you talk to me a little bit about how you sort of instilled your own maybe modern, maybe not sensibilities into a period piece?
I guess. Sorry, where to start? Well,
I know it's a
first thing
big
is
one.
no. It's a good one. But first thing to say is that holding my hand up, I was born in Aotearoa, New Zealand. My mother is Maori, therefore I'm Maori, and she has a lived experience. She grew up as a Maori with a Maori mother and father. My father he's now passed, English, from Yorkshire. In fact, he went out to Aotearoa, New Zealand, met mum, they had me, and then we moved. So I had no experience of living in New Zealand. We moved around the world, actually. My father was very footloose, should we say. And I spent most of my life, more than half my life, in the UK, in London. So I suppose the first thing for me was, who am I to try and tell a Maori story, right? And the way in for me was by reflecting on and thinking about the stories that my mother would tell me about. Maybe it's because my mother is really the only significant experience I had of a Maori person in my life as I was growing up. And even until about 10 years ago, really, when I went back to Aotearoa, New Zealand for the first time in a long time, for any length of time, Mum would tell stories about our tupuna, our ancestors, and it was particularly the stories of the wahine toa, which literally just means strong Maori women, that interested me. And there was one woman in particular, her grandmother, so my great grandmother, was a woman called Rangiriri, which literally translated means angry sky. Quite a cool name, Rangiriri.
Yeah.
And she had an identical twin sister called Te Rōrewa. They were born in 1880, and by all accounts, or certainly as my mum tells the story, and my mum, my mum is still the first to admit. She's like, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So she admits she's kind of she likes bumping things up a bit, but I think
Mhm.
essentially the twins were beautiful young Maori women who enjoyed their culture. They wanted to celebrate their culture, but at that time in Aotearoa, absolutely not. Maori culture was being suppressed. The Maori were being written off as a quote unquote dying race. Literally, that's where Lee Tamahori's
Once we're warriors.
fantastic film's title comes from.
Yeah.
Exactly. Once the Maori. Oh yeah, they were
Hmm.
once warriors. Once were warriors. Exactly. Now look at them. But anyway, in 1896, the twins were expelled from their third boarding school, and their English father, and that maybe was interesting to me as well. English father, Maori mother.
Hmm.
Their English father disowned them. He was like, "That's it. Nothing more to do with you two. Fuck it. You're on your own." And they went off and they took on identical, again quite unusual,
Hmm.
mokokowai, the traditional
Tattoos.
tattoos for women
Hmm.
of mana, women only, and they became really popular guides. And fast forward again another sort of 10 or so years, and my great grandmother Rangiriri took a concert party of young Maori women on a tour around the world from New Zealand to Australia. They performed in San Francisco all the way to England, and I was wondering, what must it have been like for my grandmother with a prominent tattoo to travel around the world with a group of young Maori women. The troupe was called, concert party was called Princess Rangiriri and her nine Maori maidens. Basically they went around the world to sing and dance and entertain those people who were colonizing still her people.
Mm.
in her lifetime. That struck me as a strange, not strange. It was an intriguing in to a story, perhaps. And I've got some. Here's. I don't know if I can show you these. That's that. Sorry,
Oh,
this way. That's the
yeah, I can see
twins.
him. Oh,
Now
wow.
I don't even know which is which because they were identical. And then, sorry, here's another one. You can see the twins there.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
beautiful women. And then
Hmm.
my great grandmother took that's her on the far on this side, with
Uh-huh.
her no, sorry, this side with her 9 Maori maidens. So that was the troupe
Wow.
of performers that went around the world. And I don't know, I was looking for a story that I could speak to, and it seemed to me, all right, maybe I can talk about a Maori character. I, I wanted to make it a woman, a female character, who is kind of she's colonized, but instead of making the story about being colonized in her own country, let this colonized individual bring the action to the colonizers. And the epicenter of colonization, obviously in the 1850s, was England. It was the
Hmm.
Victorian Empire. So I wanted to tell that story, and frankly, I suppose strategically, it was a story I'd never seen before. I'd seen a lot of, as you say, a lot of great stories that center Maori characters. I'd argue most of them are male, but that's okay.
Hmm.
That's changing, and that are directed by Maori directors, some great Maori directors. But they, in my experience or knowledge, they almost all take place in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I wanted to tell a story with Maori outside of New Zealand. So, that's what I want to continue doing as well, actually, because that's my life experience living outside of Aotearoa. I've loved
Hmm.
working there, and we shot the entire film there, and we edited it there, and I want to do that again. But my next film, for example, takes place in Southern Africa with a Maori central character, but it takes place in the
Hmm.
Kingdom of Eswatini and Mozambique. So hopefully that's next.
It's interesting. It's like you're a part of it, but looking in a little bit as sort of like half an outsider, half like, well, like you
Well, because
said,
I
your
am.
mother's Maori. It is your blood.
Yes, but I am also.
Hmm.
I do feel like an outsider sometimes, and that's on me. I haven't taken the
Hmm.
time yet to learn, for example, Te Reo Maori. I don't speak Maori, the Maori language. I know words, but I could barely string a sentence together. But it's a process. As they say, it's a
Hmm.
journey, and it's been a privilege to learn more about that my taha Maori, my Maori side.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely know the language of film, I'll tell you that much. And it's a really like I I do I mean, horror is one of the genres there. You also have historical fiction, but like the gothiness of it is just so delicious. And I was just wondering, I'm getting a lot of turning of the screw in there, but were there other gothic influences for you in books and
Well,
films?
yeah, definitely. I was given a film by my editor to watch before when we were in pre-production. So you
Mhm.
need to watch this film, and sure enough, it really spoke to us and informed a lot of the things that we did within the film. And it had been made in a similar way to the way we made Marama, i.e.,
Mhm.
studio, basically. And that is by Jack Clayton. Oh, fuck, now I've gone blank on it. Damn it, The
It's just
Innocents.
it's yeah, yeah. Hmm.
I'm going to say it's 1968, black and white,
Hmm.
governess, creepy manor, visions. that became
Yeah,
a reference.
yeah. That is turning of the screw sort of
Yeah,
adapted, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Governess, yeah.
exactly. That's a
Hmm.
reversioning, isn't it? And I hadn't seen it, but thankfully my editor put me on that. And my DOP, amazing Jin Lone, maybe not gothic so much, but certainly same time period it was set, much more up to date and bang recent. And we were thinking of ways that we might approach that's how we're going to film this, how we're going to make this film, the mise en scène, if you like. And it
Hmm.
was a film by, I'm not going to remember his name. Was it Pablo Larraín? Is he Chilean, the director? Anyway, it doesn't matter who the director
Popular.
was.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was him actually, but it
Yeah.
was called, and it had Florence Pugh, The Wonder.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. Yeah. Hmm.
Like, it's a good story, but we were more interested in how they told the story and how they
Hmm.
held on the shots that they held on and how they used what was clearly a set, but how they made it feel like something other than a set. And that was an inspiration in terms of as I say, the approach and the mise en scène. And then perhaps a final one that I had in my head from the beginning and that I was telling people about. It doesn't relate at all, really, in terms of the story, but just the tone and the temperature of the film. I love The Night of the Hunter with Robert
Oh
Mitchum
yeah,
by Charles
yeah.
Laughton.
Just not.
And,
Hmm.
and the tragedy is that that was his first feature,
And I
and
think
his
his
only
last
feature.
too.
And his
Yeah,
only one. My fucking hell. Why give this man some money to make another feature, but he never got any more money,
that's
even though he made this
ridiculous.
beautiful Gothic masterpiece. I guess it's
Yeah,
like, would you call it a Southern American Gothic?
yeah, Southern Noir Gothic. Yeah,
Southern
yeah.
Noir.
Like one of the most influential films, influential American films ever made that everyone talks about, and it's like it's his only one. It's
And he never got
completely
to make another
insane.
one. I know, so
Yeah.
I'm wary of citing that one because I'm like, don't give me the curse of the one film only.
Oh no, 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 no! You'll
Ah!
everyone cites that one. You'll be fine.
All right.
Yeah. I want to talk about casting for a second.
Yes.
Ariana, and I mean, I enjoyed everyone, but Ariana and Toby really make a compelling match. I just saw Toby in The Severed Son as sort of not quite the same role, but kind of like a cult leader and a very like charismatic, like not a good guy. But can you talk about sort of how you found them and how you knew that they were the ones?
I can't wait to see The Severed Son, by the way. I know the producer, but I've yet
Oh
to
yeah.
see it. And I'm intrigued to see it, obviously, selfishly for Toby, but also it just
Mhm.
seems like it looks like a pretty efficient horror film.
Yeah.
But sorry, the casting from my point of view, well, Ariana or whoever was going to play that role was clearly going to make or break the film. So it was a
Mhm.
lot of pressure. And I had a great casting director in Hotero, in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, called Christina Asher. Christina is Maori. She's linked in with all kinds of Maori communities and was able to find some fantastic actors for me on the short film that I made before Marama with the same production company, which was kind of like, and in fact, the same DOP called Taumanu, Taumanu. And I can send you a link to that if you're interested. But it's an
Yeah.
interesting, it became a kind of a horrible word, but it became a bit of a proof of concept when we were pitching Marama because people were able to see that, okay, he's done this thing. It's a commercial half hour, 23 minutes long. Um,
Mhm.
and it was the most budget I'd ever had for making what's basically still a short film. And I was able to, and it's set in 1929, colonial
Mhm.
New Zealand. So
Mhm.
again, it was a period thing. I was able to try costumes and textures and colors, and I loved it. It was great. We shot that all
Mhm.
on location, actually. We found a great
Mhm.
location because it was set in a space that existed. But sorry, the point being, Christina sent me tapes, I suppose you'd say, right, of when I was still in the UK before pre-production. We started spread the net wide, and she was sending me tapes from fabulous, mostly young. I think we were looking 20 to 25-year-old wahine Māori women with acting experience. And frankly, quite a few of them were very interesting, but it was just clear to me that there's no way that this person is going to manage to get through 23 consecutive shoot days and hold a film because they don't have the experience. Whereas Ariana had never done a lead role before, but she'd done quite a lot of TV. And more than anything, I just sensed from her very first tape, she had a quiet confidence and is confidence. She had the confidence in that first tape to do almost nothing. And that sounds like, well, what does that mean? But honestly, doing nothing in a tape is much harder than it seems and still being interesting.
Mhm.
And she did. She did that somehow. She gave hardly anything. She was very reserved, which I liked because that was how I was thinking of the character as she first arrived in England. Reserved, you know, protecting herself and her mana. And I just thought interesting. And then it was a process of meeting again and again. And the more I found out about her, the more I realized this has got to be her. Ariana, she won't mind me saying, her father is a famous All Black. All Black being if you know the rugby team of New Zealand, do you follow rugby
Oh
at all?
no,
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, sorry,
I
sorry,
don't.
sorry.
Sorry.
You wouldn't. Well, you wouldn't necessarily. But
American.
In New Zealand,
Mhm.
it's like a religion. Rugby is
Right. Hmm.
massive. And Ariana's father, Glenn Osborne, was a fantastic player. And Ariana, it turns out, was gonna become a professional rugby player until about
Oh.
15, 16. And she pivoted to kind of contemporary dance, and then she decided about 17, I think, actually I'm going to be an actor.
Hmm.
So, there you have it. You've got this, and I've worked before with actors who have a background in physical performance, whether it's a ballet dancer or a contemporary dancer or a football player at like elite level, like Ariana did. And
Hmm.
they bring a different approach to their acting. I don't want to generalize, but certainly Ariana did. She brought this, what can I say, intensity of focus
Hmm.
that is like what you need if you want to be a top athlete or if you want to play rugby at a national standard,
Yeah,
you need
very transferable skills, especially,
brilliant skills, right? Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it, but like there's a point at the end where I'm like, yeah, no, there's I can definitely see what you're talking about now.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
had that intensity and confidence to. She was very precise. It felt like to me, and I thought again that was something I really love the idea of for Mary's character to be very precise and very guarded. I mean, she's not just a fish out of water; she's a target. She's a person of color, a woman in Victorian England. Are you kidding? That people are going to be looking to bring her down, and she needed to be on guard. And it felt like her performance, I think, achieved that. It was amazing working with her. And Toby Stevens, very, very experienced. He was in one of the Bond films. He worked with
Yeah,
Lee
he was a
Tamahori.
Bond villain. Yeah.
Yeah, he worked with Lee.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Lee
I forgot
Tamahori
he did the
directed that
one.
film. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also, sorry, he's married to an actress from New Zealand, and
Hmm.
he'd been to New Zealand many times. He was well aware of the Māori culture. But as he said, I've never done a job in New Zealand, and I'm really interested in doing a job there. So the timing was good. And, also he was interested in the film and the part, obviously, but it was great. It just worked on many levels because he was up for it. It wasn't like I was having to twist his arm. Oh, would you mind coming out to New Zealand to do this role? And you're going to be a bit of a shit. And, no, he was into it, fully invested. And what he brought was a wealth of experience, clearly. But for me, as a first-time director, he was generous enough. Many times we'd do a take, and I'd be like, "Great, Toby, thank you very much." And he'd go, "Do you think it was great? Okay." It's just that I feel like that's a bit, I feel like I'm twiddling my mustache a bit in that take. Can I just do one that's a bit more neutral? And I'd be like, "Of course, please do, Toby." And he'd do it, and he said, "You just might find it useful in the edit." And my God, the number of times that I found his offers, his secondary offers, useful in the edit, it's embarrassing. But that's what you get if you give an actor the space to feel like, I know I can do better. I can do something more interesting for you that you might want to use in the edit. I didn't think to ask for it, but he gave it to me, and I used it in the edit.
Yeah, that's a gift. That's
Oh
you
my God,
being a good
it was such
director and
a
listening to your
generous.
actors.
Well, I don't know. It was kind of just like over to you,
Yeah.
and he made these wonderful offers. And honestly, with regards to Ariana, and I'm jumping backwards and forwards, but
Sure.
a lot of Ariana's performances, my God, it was just about me keeping the fuck out of her way, just like. Just step back, and because she was very well prepared, again like an athlete, super well prepared, had all her intentions straight in her head, knew why she was entering a scene in a particular way and why she was exiting it in a particular way, and mostly I agreed. So I was just like, shut up, get the shot right, capture the magic of what she's brought, and occasionally I would have a suggestion to make, like I remember. The scene on the cliff edge when she's just discovered or just had a vision by meeting with the doctor about her sister. Spoiler. And she's summoning her sister to tell her, "Where are you? What's happened?" And I think I was like, mine was as basic as, "I feel like you would be crying here, like you're crying on this cliff edge." And she just, she'd listen and then she'd go, "Why?" And I had to have an answer ready. And if I didn't, she would do what she wanted to do, and she was right. And I think I managed to come up with an answer for that one. Or maybe it was just like, maybe the answer was, "Please, can you indulge me and give me one take where you're crying?" And she did, and I think we used it actually. But no, she was very fair. But it was definitely a case of like, if I didn't have a good reason, she didn't want to do it, then she wouldn't do it. And that's, I respect that in an actor. And an actor should always be able to ask a director why. And if the director doesn't have the answer, then it's not good enough to say because it's going to look cool. No, fuck that. And I think she was very protective of her own work, and rightly so, because I think she smashes it out the park. Her performance, I'm really pleased for her.
Yeah,
I want to work with her again. I want to work with her again before she becomes too expensive and unavailable. So.
Just send the Christmas card every year or whatever card. Yeah, fruit baskets galore. Put it in the budget.
Baskets, yeah.
Yeah, but she is so dialed in. I mean, everyone's really dialed in, and I don't want, like I said, I don't want to ruin it, but to me, the scariest scene in the film is a scene where people are laughing. And now that you mentioned, you know the one I'm talking about, right? The and now that you mentioned the Merry Maori women, I'm wondering, did it sort of come from that, or was that because you approach the fetishization of the Maori in such like a fascinating way? Like I feel like in American films, it's so much more overt and like in your face, but it's so much more insidious here until it like explodes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, maybe I can talk about what I was imagining in my head. Nathaniel
Hmm.
Cole might,
Yeah.
his reasons might be, and I
Hmm.
suppose that just from a very basic level, and this is, working with script consultants, etc. And one of their first questions are, "Who is this character? What's he like?" etc. And
Hmm.
I decided from the beginning, Nathaniel Cole. I never wanted Nathaniel Cole to be some kind of idiot thug. Of course not.
Hmm.
He is a very smart man. Doesn't have a formal education, but he's very smart.
And that's what makes
Fact.
him scary.
and
Yeah.
and he, hopefully, exactly, and that's so his version of cultural appropriation. It's not idiotic at all. Like when she asks him, "Why do you keep a whare in the garden? Why do you keep this Maori house in your garden?" And he says, "Why? Well, why shouldn't I? She's absolutely beautiful. And I look after her." In his mind, he's protecting and
Hmm.
curating, perhaps in a vain manner, but also protecting a culture and keeping it alive. The irony of that is horrendous. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think in his head, like we worked very hard on choosing sorry, paintings that
Hmm.
were out in the market at the time, but that speak to this man of very not educated at all, but of just an instinctive taste. And I made sure that all the pictures were replicated in real size. And one of my not eternal, but one of my annoyances is that the image of the ladder by God, I've forgotten the name of the famous painter now, but it's very small and we kind of miss it. But then there are other images that are other paintings that we replicated that are huge and they work brilliantly. But no, I wanted to make sure that he was a cultured and thoughtful man, albeit a monster. Yeah. Um, and so, sorry, is that am I speaking? Am I answering to the
No, no,
cultural
no,
appropriation rambling?
definitely.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I ramble a little bit too, but no, but it was just a really sort of thoughtful portrayal because honestly, at first, you're not entirely sure. You get a bad sense from him, but you're not sure just how much trouble Mary's in. So, and
Good.
it's the dance that you do between the two is really effective and really
Oh, thank you.
fascinating. And I think the film, but particularly the climax, are going to be remembered. I'm going to remember them for a long time. And
There's one moment when they're dancing. There's no spoiler, and Marama's Mary's becoming more and more
mhm,
frustrated, and I think her words are something like, well, I think she even asks straight up, "Who were my parents?" And she's getting a sense that this guy knows more than he's giving. Who were my parents? And I can't remember what my English line response was, but something like, I was trying to be a bit cute because he was being a bit cute in the moment. They're dancing and it's a
mhm,
party and it's his birthday, and he might have even said something as stupid as, well, that's for me to know and you to find out, haha, or
mhm,
something, right? It was
mhm,
lame. And I worked very closely over 4 days with a fantastic Wahine Māori filmmaker who's just released her first feature. And she is in Te Ao Māori. She does live in the Māori world and she does speak Māori. So she was able to
mhm.
gift me loads of suggestions. And she said, "Yeah, you can do better than that. I think at this point he should say what he does in the film, which is, let me try and get this right, Patai na pau o te whare, which literally translated means ask the pillar of the house." He's talking about a Māori meeting house, and he's talking about the central pillar, which represents the whakapapa, the lineage of the tribe that owns that house. So what he's really saying is, go and it's a common Maori expression that all Maori who hear it will understand it and immediately know what he's talking about. I didn't because I don't have that knowledge, but I took the suggestion and ran with it because it's perfect. He's basically saying, just go and have a look at the pillar to find out who your parents are. He's throwing it back in her face, and he's doing it using a Maori idiomatic expression for
Phrasing.
that.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
that gifts like that, whenever they came my way, I would grab them and put them in. And
Yeah.
I've got thanks at the end of the film with thanks too, but some of those thanks, I'm not saying they're borderline co-writers. They're not that, and she didn't want that anyway. But there were some definite lines that have made their way into the film through very generous offers. So I'll always be grateful.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, that it takes a village, and you make a good
Yes.
mayor, sir. So yeah, I this has been great. I can't wait to see what you cook up in South Africa. So
Thank you.
yeah, um, cool. I appreciate
Excellent.
it.
Really, really great talking to you. Anyone watching this before the 17th, please buy your tickets and go out and watch it in a cinema. It's way
Yes.
better in a cinema than it's going to be
Mhm.
when you stream it eventually. I would say that because I'm the filmmaker, but genuinely, I hope you felt as well, Lowell, that the sound in a cinema is excellent. It's where you
Oh
want to
yeah,
hear my film, is in a cinema. And also, please go and support it this weekend, because that's what's going to determine whether it has much of a life in the cinema, is our numbers this weekend. It's the way it is.
absolutely. Yeah, we're big proponents of the theatrical experience at Macabre Daily. So
Great.
yeah, cool,
Thank you so
awesome.
much.
Yeah, thanks, Taratoa.